Hello, everybody. Welcome. I might as well go ahead and say family, welcome, because this day, this month, we are family and we're celebrating together for Black History Month. Now, listen, I work with Magic 102.1, an Urban One company here in Houston, Texas, and we partner with Black History 365, who has an exciting new K-12 textbook company and projects that they're working on that are definitely going to make you proud and make you want to be more involved. Matter of fact, I'm so excited. I need to just get started. We have two amazing guests today that I'd love to bring on to talk more about this Black History 365 campaign. And without further ado, Dr. Walter Milton, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you doing today, sis?
Welcome. See, he already called me sis. I told y'all we're family.
Absolutely.
Also, Dr. Kevin K.O. Cates, are you there?
I'm here. What's happening, Scott?
Yay! Now, Kevin, I know you're traveling, getting a lot of things accomplished. I want to talk more about these two gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching, if you're coming in off the Magic Instagram, Facebook, StreamYard, wherever you're joining us from, go ahead and tell some other people now to get in on this. It's a celebration of us. And if you know anything about me, and maybe this may be true for you, I'm a music lover. So today, as we celebrate each other, celebrate our legacies and histories, we're going to infuse that with some music. All right. Is that all right with everybody?
Let's go.
All right. So first off, let me introduce Dr. Walter Milton Jr. He is the founder and CEO of BH365. That's Black History 365. And he's currently the CEO of From the Heart International Education Services. So, Doctor, how are you today?
I'm doing really well. I can't brag and I'm too afraid to complain.
No, say it again for the people in the back.
Can't brag and too afraid to complain.
I love it. We're super happy to have you here today. Let me ask you this, because before today, my son asked me, he said, Mom, he's 8. He said, Mom, what's today? Is Black History Month over? And I had to tell him, son, no, while it may be a short month, we still have 2 whole amazing days that the world gives us to celebrate. Although we know better. I had to tell him, we know they've given us 28 days, but Black history does not stop because the clock on their watch says so. So, Doctor, let me ask you, what is this program? And let's connect you with it. What made you want to bring this to pass for us?
Well, that's a great question. But before I answer it, I want to say that Black history is 365 days a year. February is just our anniversary. But what happened many years ago, I was in 5th grade, and I came from a home where my mother and father had instilled so much of our culture in me from birth. They would let me and my brothers and sisters know that we were descendants of the kings and queens, that we come from the first people who were here on earth. And so one day I went to school in 4th grade. I had a teacher, her name was Miss Baldisi, and she said, hey, we're going to teach Black history today. And she started out with the benign institution of slavery. She had all the exaggerated figures, and there was a white slave master whipping, these slaves. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I went home. I told that story to my mother and father, and it just really ignited a fire in me to really start this. I was a principal. I was a school superintendent, and I always talked about the urgency around culturally responsive pedagogy and our children learning who they are. And so when the opportunity came about almost 3 years ago, I just went to work feverishly. Contacted Bill Freeman, who's the curator of many of the images in the book, told him about it. He joined me in the campaign. We developed this 12 to 16-hour days every day to get this work done. And we've unearthed information that many people don't know about. We started ancient Africa, and we come all the way up to where we are today.
It makes me so proud. And it's a lot of work that goes behind, let's call this a passion project. And when you, I don't know if you guys believe in a higher up, but I feel like when God gives you a call, everyone is already placed on this earth to do a specific thing. And when you recognize and identify that call, like you said, you work feverishly to bring it to pass. So let me just say thank you for taking on that light, right? That baton to run, because we need to know this history. I don't think all of our children are getting this in the current curriculum. I can only speak for my son. He's at a private school, because as a parent, I recognize my kid needs certain things. He's built a certain way. He's unique. He's at the Amani school here in Texas, an African-American led school. And they focus on the Black child, which is invaluable to me. My son is, I can just share, my son is a grandchild of a jazz great. His grandfather played with Miles Davis and traveled the world. Wow. And I try to tell myself, tell him about his grandfather, so that the things and little quirks about himself that he'll come into knowing, he'll know where it comes from. So along this journey of creating this curriculum, how did you really identify with what would go into this project? Because we're vast people.
Yes, we are. That's an incredible question. Well, what we did, we understood that there was a pattern or a series of history that everyone has heard of. You know, the Martin Luther Kings of the world, the Frederick Douglass of the world, the Harriet Tubmans of the world. We said, if we're going to touch that, we're going to go deep to the core. And we decided to unearth things that people never heard of before. No one knows about the African kingdoms, you know, opposed to the geopolitical structure to name them countries that we didn't do. We are kingdom people. Yeah. And so no one knew all of that. And then we wanted to go really deep. So we did the etymology of the word Africa. It takes you to Kubalon, which takes you to the Garden of Eden. So we were God's first people. And so our ancestors walked this earth, you know, in a civilized mode. And so we wanted to bring up a lot of clarity, a lot of misconceptions that needed, and a lot of stereotypes. We wanted to kill those things. We are great people. We're some of the most incredible people on earth. So that really was the driving force to really do this. And so we wanted to have a strong integration of technology, because we know that our people in general learn very swiftly nowadays. So we have over 1,000 QR codes in the book. The book is 1,248 pages. Then we wanted to have a strong integration of music, and we couldn't have found anyone better than Brother Dr. K.O. Kevin Cates to do just that. And so we know that we are a musically inclined people, and other people identify with music because of us. And so we wanted to make sure that we had a project that was never done before. Nothing like this was ever done in the history of mankind. So I think that we brought all of those components together, and here we are today. And we're very, very proud of the work. We have about a team of about 70 people, and all of them are really highly motivated. And this is our life work. You talked about a higher power, and I just say that I'm just nothing but a vessel that God impregnated me to do this work. And here I am.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you for that. If you're just joining us, I see a few people commenting in the comment section. Thank you for being here, joining us today as we celebrate Black History Month and as we spotlight Black History 365. It's a new curriculum that we're proud to bring you. On the line, I have Dr. Walter Milton, who's just speaking, and he just made mention of Dr. Kevin K.O. Cates. I'd like to introduce him as well. Dr. Milton talked about us being a kingdom people. And as a kingdom people, we have a specific culture that we live by, that we move and have our being in. So I want to swing it to K.O. and talk about that culture, and more specifically about the culture of Black music. He is an American record producer and entrepreneur from Montgomery, Alabama. What up to the Bama? And he rose to prominence with his early involvement in hip hop. So K.O., welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. So happy to be here.
Every time I say your name, I keep thinking about Tupac saying Kevin Cato, but it was a different one. So tell me about your early start in hip hop. Take us back. Give us your road.
All right. So, you know, hip hop, that's the gift. You know, that's the gift that I was blessed with. So, of course, being born in Los Angeles, raised in raised in Alabama, in a market where hip hop, I mean, in Montgomery, Alabama, you know, we had to really go hard because it was never a music market.
Yeah, need some
So,
respect.
right. So at that point, you know, everything about music, I was like, if I'm going to make it, I got to serve and I got to be able to learn everything about music. So I was a hustler. I was in high school working at the radio station at the mix show. I was running a nightclub before I was old enough to be in one. Whatever opportunity hit for me to be able to get that shot, I would. But, you know, I ended up, meeting someone that actually, when I was working at the radio station, I met Jason Jeter, and at that time he was an intern for for an independent label. But my thing was, as an independent artist, I'm like, I always got to look out and find that talent because I would want someone to do the same for me. So I helped him with an artist he was working, and then through my saga of leaving Alabama from there, being in a big fish in a small pond, to where I realized I did everything I could do to actually try to make it out, to where it was like, you know what, I got to get out of here to actually grow. So I took my leap, went through my, you know, road to success from being homeless, living in my truck, other things, but came back full circle when I was producing another artist, and Lord and behold, they wanted T.I. on a record. And this is when T.I. first got started. And I ended up meeting back up with Jason, which is, of course, one half of Grand Hustle. And when we reconnected, that's when I, you know, got on board and went to the next level. So now here, 30 million records sold later, producing everything from Why You Wanna for T.I. to producing Ludacris, Jay-Z, man, the list goes on. Snoop Dogg, Rick Ross, your Lil Babies, like so many artists now. And you know, but I hit this place in my career to where to really bring it all fast forward to where people ask, well, what made you go from here to education? Well, it came back full circle because in the height of my career, my father passed away, and he would always say, don't just be successful, be significant and leave a legacy behind. And I didn't quite know how that would work and what to do, but there was an award show I was being honored at, and the president of the SCLC, Martin Luther King's organization, came to this hip hop awards show and apologized to all of us in the room. So it took me away. I was like, wow, like I was so moved, but it made me realize that my generation had been chasing money so much that we're repeating that process. So I knew that this was going to be my road to significance. So Bridge the Gap came to me in a dream. I woke up, I couldn't stop writing. I called my best friend Bizzo and was like, yo, I got an idea. I gotta write a textbook that teaches character building and life skills, and I'm gonna produce music for each chapter. So I went on to do that, and we sat down, and I took a leap. People thought I was crazy. They're like, what do you mean I can't get beats? I'm like, well, I gotta go do this project here. And but you know, it grew from there. Megan Good got involved. So Megan Good actually teaches the course with myself via video. And you know, we've been around for about 12 years now. So we're in schools throughout the US. We're in schools in Nassau, Bahamas, in Africa, juvenile detention centers. I received a Lifetime Achievement Award from President Obama, and all these cool things by just taking that leap. And at that point, I had superintendents saying, well, what do you have to help with the test scores? And I'm like, okay, well, let's go back to work. So that took another 5 years of actually taking the entire Common Core curriculum in the national standards and made it to my to-do list. So I produced songs for 12 years education, math, science, social studies, and ELA, all in hip-hop form and music videos to go with it. And it's called curriculum. So curriculum is now being used heavy, especially with the pandemic, but curriculum has been great. Our data has been amazing. We turned the third lowest school in Georgia into the third highest school in the state. So when Walter and Joe flew down to see me, it was almost like I knew exactly what to do for this project. You know what I mean? So we partnered up, and I said, okay, cool. And I went through each chapter and began to produce songs, which is now has become the only and official, you know, soundtrack to our history and culture from ancient Africa all the way to current times.
I can't stop cheesing because I'm so excited. I said earlier, when you are given your own assignment, there's nothing that can stop you, shake you. All the things you thought you were doing is nothing compared to when you get that one divine assignment. So again, thank you too for taking on the task and being obedient to the assignment. And we're going to talk more about this cool curriculum. I think that is so awesome. I'd love to hear more because, as you mentioned, a lot of parents are still in that pandemic having to teach their kids at home. I know I struggle with trying to find things, YouTube videos that my son learns a certain way. You know, just looking in the book doesn't work for him, and he's musically inclined. So I have to figure out a way to help him retain. So I want to talk more about the cool curriculum. But right now, I'd like to get into the Black History 365 musical curriculum. If y'all don't mind, I'd like to go ahead and play some cuts from the Black History 365, the album. Is that all right?
Let's do it.
All right, so I'm gonna segue like this. Getting ready for this interview, I was riding in my car. I listen to audiobooks all the time. I'm currently listening to one of the greats, Cicely Tyson, rest her soul. I'm listening to her audiobook, and she's talking about our history, all the things that have happened over her 10 decades almost of living. And she's talking about those people in history who have made an impact, and even her life, feeling like, have I done enough to help the generations coming after me? So she's running down the list of Miles Davis and all of these icons. So if you guys don't mind, on this album, on the album, there's a cut called Icon that I think really incites us. So let's take a listen to that if you don't mind. Let's throw it to Icon.
All right.
People chime in. Let us give me your comments while we get the music queued up. If you're watching, listen to this, listen to the lyrics, and give us your comments as you're listening along. Let us know what it makes you feel, think, and even want to do. So let's do that. I see a lot of comments coming through. Really quickly, where can I get this? Is it out yet?
Absolutely. The album is out on all platforms. As well as you can go to bh365.org and get the book and the album together. And we're encouraging people to go out and actually purchase it, not just stream it, but go out and purchase it, because we're doing the Bet on Black 365 challenge. Okay. And it's been amazing. People have been purchasing it and posting it and hashtagging, hey, I bet on Black 365. And we were number 3 on the charts, and we're constantly soaring up the charts. So our goal is before the end of this month, have the #1 album in the country during Black History Month about Black history. That's what we're going for.
Nice. I'm gonna talk to my tech people in the back. Are we ready to roll that beautiful beam footage? I love this first one.
We can take it back for the last 90 years. Look at all the Black pioneers that appear. Sister Rosetta Tharpe had signature gifts and guitars. Influenced the episode Richard, a list full of stars. In 1912, the blues was versioning. W.C. Handy had moved the urban scenes. The radio was gaining popularity. Apparently, your Black music made the airwaves more ordinarily. And this is where you see legends like Much Artists who fathered the latest British bands. And they with a man. Ellington and Big Band brought in so many fans. He played that swinging, had on swinging from the fans. And rock and roll had him out of control. Chuck Berry had white women front row with his shows. It goes rock and roll, pop his old country and jazz. If it wasn't for Black music, tell me what would we have? So make the icon. Who you got your eyes on? The Black ones had it harder than the white ones. It's like fun when the mic and the lights on. In real life, it's a struggle and a fight for the icon. And Lord knows these award shows never get it right. Is it jealousy? It's fight for the icon. It's Black excellence on television every night. Only the better things in life for the icon. Beat the Pinch icon. Count Bass icon. Miles Davis icon. Stevie Wonder icon. Jimi Hendrix icon. Michael Jackson icon. Aretha Franklin icon. With the evolution of every sound, we've been around very Gordy brought about Motown, so Black and proud. The soul song started in 1970. Peace, love, and soul every Saturday. They gravitated heavily now. Some of you might already know this part, but after that, rap happened. It was slow to start. It's still a growing art. Fathered by DJ Chris Kirk, then they packaged that.
That was Icon off the Black History 365, the album. You guys, it's available now. You just heard KO say that. So get it. I banged this in my car. And when you listen to it loud, it's going to move you physically and mentally. So KO, tell us a little bit about when you were constructing these lyrics? It made me feel, I was thinking back, it made me feel what conscious rap in the 90s made me feel. They were teaching me something and giving me something I could feel all at the same time. And that's a heck of a combination to make somebody feel and think. So tell us a little bit about Icon.
Well, you know, the cool thing about this is with this project, I mean, it's 42 songs. So we had to break it into volume 1 and volume 2. And with it, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, if we're going to do this, I had to bring in some of my artists within KMG, which is some of the most talented artists I've ever worked with, along with myself just knocking out the records. So that particular record, actually, my nephew, Xavier, knocked that out, Zay, and he actually, I had to sit down with each artist and say, okay, after I produced the track, saying, okay, this is the track for it, okay, and we go through the research and, you know, just lay it out and go from there. So the whole point, though, of the project that merely made it cool was crafting the right music and production that gives you that, where each record takes you on a different vibe. So you could go listen to the 42 songs and nothing sounds alike, but all the records have a feel that ties into what part of history is talking about. So that particular record was about just having more of a big open sound, because when you think of icons, it's just, there's no ceiling. So the record is open, but it's big, and it just, you know, shows the spotlight where it needs to be. You know, there's other records, though, that was a little complicated because we were dealing with the pain that, you know, that our people endured, and having to like put that in music form, but still having to stay almost like a news reporter and just state the facts without being any kind of bias in any kind of way. And then creating the right vibe of music to where, okay, we're about to talk about something that was really painful for our people, but the music has to balance out to where you can still groove and learn at the same time. So it was definitely some chemistry done on that.
I was just about to say that usually we allude to music as art. I was just about to say this is art and science, because it takes a special combination of elements to make it work. You just mentioned something else that piqued my ear. You said it's pain. We have to talk about the pain, because the pain is what pushes us to resilience. So this next track I haven't heard yet. So if you're viewing again, just coming in, we're listening to the album Celebrating Black History. I have Dr. Walter Milton Jr. on and Dr. Kevin K.O. Cates, who wrote and helped produce this masterpiece. Talking more about the pain, I haven't heard this next one yet, but I'd love to see what it's talking about and get your take on it. Elephant in the Room. If we can go to that one next. He said, ooh, so I'm getting excited. Elephant in the room. What is the elephant in the room? We'll talk about it, but I'd love to go ahead and throw it to the track first. You guys turn it up. If you're listening in your car, at home, on your computer, turn it up so you can feel it.
Yeah. The elephant in the room. Yeah. The elephant in the room. So much hatred grown. Our whole generation was doomed. Can't clean it up with a broom. The elephant in the room. Like caught him in a coon. Man, you better change your tune. Make you wanna blow up, boom, boom. The elephant in the room. All the white hood costume. I'm heated, steaming fumes. How much drink you wanna consume? The elephant in the room. Man, we gotta figure this out. I don't just wanna assume that you don't wanna squat this. Let's start off with the elephant in the room. You been to a Mexican restaurant, or maybe a local Chinese spot. You look at the menu and see the chili pepper by item. That means it's really hot. Now you got a choice. You wanna go order that? Is it too hot for your taste buds? The elephant in this book represents mistreatment of black people. Gotta wake up. 3/5 of a human being calling us damn word, get lynched to being black. 400 years enslaved. I don't wanna get you mad, this is real, I'm just saying fact. But what we gotta do is realize when we see the elephant that the topic is sensitive. We learn this to help you not to divide. Action over anger, initiative. Learn about the past, get attitude. You ain't do nothing to me, why I'm at you? If we can be critical thinkers, compassionate, listen and move up in latitude. Respectful communicators when we deal with topics that collect us with central. The thing where we peacefully protest the other right now is the way that it's missing. So much hatred grown. Our whole generation is doomed. Can't clean it up with a broom. The elephant in the room. Like caught him in a coon. Man, you better change your tune. Make you wanna blow up, boom, boom.
Man, talk about the hatred in the room. That was Elephant in the Room. Listen, go ahead and talk about it. Go ahead. Tell us about it.
All right, so the elephant in the room, you know, originally Joe Freeman, one of the partners with the with our group with BH365, was telling me like, yo, we got to do a song about the elephant experience. Because in the textbook, there's a part for anytime there's something really that's about to come in the book that's going to be, that may make some people mad or frustrated, because we have to state the facts as it is, right? We have this disclaimer, and it's the elephant there. So when they see that elephant, the teacher or whoever's reading it or learning it knows, okay, there's about to be some happening, right? So, he was like, yo, why don't we create a song about that part? And I'm like, well, I don't want to come across corny, because I'm like, I got to still produce the music to where it relates to the people, So I'm like, I can't see myself doing a tutorial song to teachers and putting it on the album, teaching them how to teach it. So, but as, I sat down and thought about it, and as I saw things going on in the world today, I was like, no, this is bigger than the tutorial. This song, we need to create a song that addresses the elephant in the room for America right now and the tension. So at that point, it took it to another level, and it's so, and it addresses a lot of things. Like, I encourage everyone to listen to this song, because on the second verse, we go into laying out a good example of racism to help both sides understand. And I use an analogy of my dad being a Lakers fan, and as a kid, I used to go to the games with him. And then automatically, because he hated Larry Bird and the Celtics, I grew up not liking the Celtics. And I'm like, well, why is that? And it's like, well, that's kind of like racism. Nobody's born with racism. Kids will play with anybody, but the hatred's taught. So it's explaining, if we break this down, and even if we see someone who is being racist, then we can have a different, like, kind of feel sorry for him, like, dang, you don't get it, compared to being drawn into it. And we also addressed it, Josiah Henson, because a lot of people don't know, when they hear the word Uncle Tom, they think of sellout, sucker, but Uncle Tom is Josiah Henson. That's the character it was named after, and he was a good man. He looked out for the people on the plantation. He also ended up escaping with his family, and then went back with the Underground Railroad and freed 118 people. But history has laid it out as if that name has been plagued. You want to fight if someone calls you that. So that's some of the elephants in the room that we address, and that, Walter's done a great job laying out in the textbook.
Walter, when you heard these, I don't know what during the process where you were. Were you at the studio? Did he send you things as they were getting, produced? What were you thinking when you first heard some of these cuts?
Well, one thing about KO, he kept us informed all throughout. And it was almost like every time we heard it, we went to another level. And then we heard more and we went to another level. But then, I don't mean, no pun intended, but we got so high that we couldn't even come down. I mean, it was incredible. And so some of our meetings turned out to be parties. And, he would take us through the song, the development of the song, the process of the song. And some of them we heard in the raw footage and have it come to the final, the final, so that, when he's ready to get it out to people. So it's just been incredible to see the development. And this is how powerful we are as a people.
Yes.
We have the ability to receive it from the Most High. And then we have the ability to conceptualize it in our head, even when other people can't see it. Because people thought that we were crazy. I remember flying to Atlanta, spending the day with KO in his home, going to dinner, spending time with his family, and all, it was just a conversation. And then we knew in our mind, from our ancestral connection, that this conversation was going to be brought to fruition and it was going to be a reality. And so we saw this when the world couldn't see it.
Right.
And people probably thought we were crazy, that we were going to marry a textbook and the music together. And here we are.
The chosen people. You talked about it before. And that's the thing, when you have an assignment, no one else will see your vision because it's not the time yet. It's in that incubation period when you're bringing it to pass for such a time. So this is that time. I'm super excited. Again, if you're just tuning in, the Black History 365, the album is what we're previewing. It's available now. And I don't know if anyone watching this have ever been to the old school listening sessions. This is where an artist who was just putting out a new body of work, they wanted to sample it and take it around for some people who make moves to hear it first, this is what you're getting. It may not be first because it's out there, but this is your intimate opportunity to vibe and feel it. Listen, so I'm gonna give my 2 cents on it, because first when I heard the elephant in the room, so many things came to my mind. One is, have you guys seen that movie, The Jungle Book, the kids movie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's a part in the movie where the elephants are coming by and he stops, he stops the kid and he says, bow down. And the kid is like, why? Why do we have to bow down to the elephants? And he says, because it's reverence to them. They are the strongest species, one of the strongest species in this jungle. And they built this. We can't get across this body of water had they not built the way across. So when I hear elephants in a room and you say it's about to be some pain, we're warning you, these elephants are coming to till that ground so you can come across and receive it. So that's what came to my mind. That blows me away.
Right.
I hope you guys watching are enjoying this as I am, as I soak it in. And I don't know about you guys. The world is in a pandemic, but here in Texas, we just had this whole breakdown in the middle of the pandemic. We had our personal state breakdown. We had an ice storm that shut the city down. We'd have electricity, all of that. It was crazy. However, one day we got some electricity back and I got to watch the movie Get Out for the first time. Have y'all seen the movie? I didn't watch it because I thought it was going to be too crazy. But shout out to David Kalua, is that his last name? He did an amazing job in the movie. He asked, why us? Why Black people? Why are they doing this, or have they done this to us? And it's just that our skin has always been our sin. But in the midst of all that, we're still chosen. So this next part I would love to end it on is one of my favorites on the album, and it is simply Black is Beautiful. We're going to talk about it, but first I want you guys to hear it, soak it in, take in the lyrics. Black History 365, the album. I'm so excited. Turn it up, turn it up, turn it up.
Everyone wants the elements of the heart. Stand up, put your best in the air if you're feeling the Now ain't nobody being biased, I'm just stating facts. When I think about greatness, it goes back to Black. I think about all the people went through. The history was Black. People built America, the monuments, the White House. Yeah, we got the credit, man, the names was never mentioned. Invented electric railways, home security systems. Just heated in the summer as hot as it may be. People thank the Black man for inventing the AC. Traffic light, blood bank, gas mask, it gets greater, bro. You walking up a lot of stairs without the elevator. Refrigerator stove with TV remote control. Created a good car, the jam we got sold. Spark plug motor, we roll, I'm so proud of them.
I hate that we gotta cut it. It's so dope. This one's for the melanin.
Absolutely.
I love it. All right, I said that before. Our skin has been our sin, but we shine so bright. So it's so important to keep reminding us they do this because we're great. We have gone through everything we've gone through because we're great. And people always want to keep down or suppress something that shines. I don't know why, but it is what it is. So tell us a little bit about that, Mikhail.
Well, after we pretty much finished the album, we were all like, we need the theme song. We need the theme song that just sets the pace. And it'll be a song to where for years to come, it will be just a record that will be a staple for our culture, to where we could play this record and just feel good about ourselves and it's an uplifting record. So I went to work from there. I called my brother Jay Morris, and we already had a vibe for it. He had already did a hook and I was like, you know what? Remember this song we were working on and we didn't finish? This is the one. So called Mark XX, one of my other partners that's a part of the team, and we made it happen, made history.
Man, it just felt right. It was the first one I listened to, and it just felt right immediately. Dr. Milton, what did you feel when you first heard the song?
Man, I felt all kinds of stuff. I felt about 3,000 years of feeling, you know, and it took me all the way back. You know, my mother used to always say that we have a gene that no one has. It's called the best gene. And whatever it is, we're going to be the best at it. We take everything to a whole nother level. And so when I heard this song for the first time, it reminded me that KO and all the brothers and sisters that participated in developing the song had the best gene, and they were acting out of that gene.
Man, best, blessed, whatever you want to call it. It's that it thing, that it factor that we keep building on. And I think as a people, that's our legacy. So I'm going to ask both of you guys, going forward, what do you want this body of work to do? What do you want the people listening, what do you want them to do? Now that you've put it out there in the world, what's their charge?
You know, I think the power with that, it's very important that we understand that the power is in the people. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are like, well, how do we get the word out? Like, what do we do? It's like, it starts there. Like, we are the day. If we don't do it, it won't happen. Like, so many people watch the news and say, they got to do something. No, it's us. We have to do it.
We are
in this case, exactly. It's like, in this case, we have an opportunity for parents to reach out to their schools, for students to let the teachers know and the principals know we need this curriculum. Just like in Denver with our young sisters that, you know, is all over the news and CNN for helping make Black history be a mandatory thing in the city, you know, the state. And like, they did that though, you know, and it's so amazing seeing the people. And what we realize is if we go from the top level and deal with superintendents, then they're going to say, okay, well, cool, but I need to check with the principals and make sure this is something they want. So I'm not forcing anything on them. So, but if the people come together and make it be known, then it can be embraced from all sides. So we encourage everyone to just let your voice be heard, reach out to the schools, let them know we need this curriculum, and, you know, and we got it for you.
Now, Dr. Milton, that sounds like an easy thing to do, but if I'm a person watching right now, I'm just a parent. I'm not even on the PTA. You know, I'm not even in the PTA. I just take my kid to school every day, or I'm teaching them from school. What's the first step into doing that? If I don't have the all the time drive to put something in the schools or start the conversation, what's the ground level I can start at?
There's two words that I think of. The first one is courage.
Yeah.
And courage really allows you to have a voice. When we exemplify courage, our voice becomes resounding, if you will. And so I think that has to be the base, because this is an example that no one has a right to tell our story the way that we tell our story. And this is a prime example of us telling our story through our music, through our visualization, through our lyrics, through our technology. We are telling our story. And we need our parents to have the courage to not only love the children that we birth and that we conceive, but to love all of our children and getting back to that collective village model that we have to be our brothers and our sisters. And if we want our children to stand up on the rightful throne of excellence and rulership, this is the best time to do it right now with BH365.
I love it. Have the courage. Listen, I've enjoyed this tremendously today. Thank everybody for tuning in. These are the Chevy Keys to Success, spotlighting Black History 365, the album. Get it, and don't just get it, live with it, consume it, and then spread it if you would. We don't stop at February 28th. We live on. Our legacy is to do the same. And I thank y'all. Thank both of you for joining us today. I pray that this really makes waves the way we need it to continue it. So thank you again.
And let's take it to the sky.
All right. I love it. All right, you guys. Thank you again.
Bye-bye.